everybody.
Hello.
We're doing a bonus vlog this week, basically because I have like 9 million questions from you guys in the inbox, and we're starting to run out of time to try to write them all. So we're going to just do a big bunch of questions now, hopefully do some more questions at the end of the week in the normal vlog time. John's making a face because he feels like we talk to the vlog too much. I don't know what his problem is, but anyway, we're going to do a bunch of questions today. Enjoy John's glorious greaser hair while we do. Our first question is, what happens when someone with divine socials manages to insult the virtues of another Scion? Does the ichor being upset over the insult take precedence over the inability to hurt someone who's divinely likable? Well, here's exactly pretty much the way that'll always go. You will do or say something. If you are the person that has super socials, let's say you have lots of epic charisma, you do or say something that upsets someone else's virtue. What will probably happen is they'll say, I really like you because you have a ton of charisma, so I'm going to try to roll against my virtue to not do anything about it. And then they'll roll against their virtue. And if everything goes well, they'll just pay some willpower and they'll let it go. If they virtue extremity, then they're coming for you no matter what kind of social stats you have. Because at that point, they're crazy.
Right. Like the people with the epic socials are usually the people giving you lots of willpower. So spending willpower on virtues is kind of part and parcel with that. It's like an inbound system that just works with itself. They're giving you willpower usually so that when you have to roll against your virtues because they fucked something up or they don't want you to go run into battle, you then have that willpower from them to then kind of spend towards the virtue. And then sometimes that doesn't work out in your extremity, and then your ichor takes over and you attack them anyway or whatever.
The epic socials make people want to not attack you over the virtue. Or do whatever over the virtue.
They still want to follow their virtue.
But they still have to roll the virtue. Yeah. And if they fail, then it becomes craziness. And that was nice and simple.
Yep.
So, next question.
And it's all about level of the epic social, too.
Yeah, that's true. Like, if you only have a couple of epic charisma and you piss off someone's virtue, they're probably not going to be that invested in saying, this thing I core believe I need to throw away for you. But if you have, like, 8 epic charisma, then they might be like, you are such a good person that I'm going to try to push back. I'm sure you have a reason. Or, you know, you're super manipulative. I believe in you, so I'm going to try to...
And if they actually use knacks and stuff on you to actually make you do stuff, then you just roll against your virtues.
Right.
And you have no choice.
Yeah. Because you've done a thing that your virtue doesn't like, and it doesn't care why you did it or who told you to do it.
Yep. Next.
Next question. For haunted mists, the more powerful you are, the more time you need to concentrate for the mist to gather. That doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody who hasn't branched out much in the death purview can summon the mists more quickly. It looks like that because the total time it takes you to do the boon takes longer, but it's not actually true. What happens is that for ticks equal to your death boons, you blow out mist, which takes up yards equal to your death boons. So you will spend longer doing it if you are higher level, but you will also cover more ground. So if you only have 5 death boons, you're going to get 5 yards in every direction and it'll take you 5 ticks. If you have 10 death boons, it will take you 10 ticks, which takes longer. That's because you're covering another 5 yards in every direction past the first guy. If they actually did it right next to each other, they would hit the same distance at the same time. It's just that the one guy would then keep going because he's even better at this than the first guy.
If we were to go through death, this would probably get rewritten a bit, maybe allowing you to stop earlier.
Yeah, there should probably be a way that you can just say, I'm going to stop because I don't want to spend another 5 ticks on it. But right now, it's because you are actually creating more mist than the guy with fewer death boons is, and that's why it takes longer.
And because of how formulas for area works, you're creating exponentially more for each, not quite exponential, but for each tick you do past the lower death boon person is doing like substantially more and more and more.
Yeah, like if you did it in a square room, the 5 yards guy gets, the 25 yards square of the room, but the 10 yards guy gets 100. So even though it's taking longer, it's actually just moving much faster also than the lower legend guys. So it's weird because it like looks straight up like one is just taking longer, but in actuality you're doing a lot more. Third question. It seems like in many of your games, the Scions quickly become the bad guys, at least in the mortal world. Have any of your characters had the luck or strength of will to be a good guy, like causing more good for the world than bad?
I mean, yeah, it's a hard thing to do. Usually not. And that's mythologically not something gods do anyway.
Yeah, you'll find that most mythological heroes they are heroes and they do good things. They also do bad things and make mistakes.
Yeah, and they do bad things and they make mistakes, but a lot of it's for the greater good, right? Like they're on a journey to save the planet, and so there are casualties.
Yeah, as with all stories, like morality's not black and white. So sometimes they find they have to kill someone to save a lot more people or similar. And that sucks, but doesn't necessarily make them bad people. Or they can be bad people that do good things. We've had a lot of Scions who were kind of horrible monster people that shouldn't exist, but because they worked for the gods who wanted them to do good things, they actually caused good in the world, even though they were evil.
And then in addition, some grow and start doing only good deeds, and some devolve, and so you get some bad people to turn good. It's a long story with a lot of different things happening. I think everybody kind of runs the gamut.
Yeah. A good example is Goze, who started as kind of not the worst person in the world, but he was very selfish. He committed rape, he committed theft. He was not a nice person.
And then he became really evil.
And he became truly just evil.
Yeah.
And then he realized that, and he said, I don't want to be that person. And he spent the rest of his career trying to make up for it and becoming increasingly better as a person, taking more valor, doing more heroic things.
Yep.
And conversely, Marcus James started as like the guy who was like, I'm going to get justice and get this crazy party under control, realized that he wasn't doing very well, became an alcoholic, became insane and drunk, and then just turned into a monster and just murdered people. So, it can go either way, and it's never, people are playing these characters. They're not static, so they can change all the time for many reasons, depending on what happens and what they do.
Yep. Next
so, you can do more good in the world than bad, but if you don't, that doesn't necessarily mean you're playing wrong.
It's all going to depend how long you go and, how you define good versus bad.
Exactly. What one person thinks is good, another person would say that's terrible. So, next question. What happens when you use two avatars simultaneously with a multiple action? Do you just combine the narrative awesome of both, or does one just fizzle? The rules don't say this, but you can't do that. That's ridiculous. You can't be the Storm and the Devourer at the same time. It doesn't make any sense. You're embodying a concept that is enormous. You can't be two of them at the same time.
But also, that's never going to happen, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's also never going to happen. I mean, most people are not just going to be like, I blow 60 legend in one action.
Also the rules will change so much.
We're going to rewrite Ultimates and Avatars, and we will then expressly tell you, not only does that not do that, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
Or, if we decide you can do it, there will be rules about what happens. It won't be just, I can do anything I want with both these things.
Right.
But right now, there's just no reason for that.
Nope.
Don't do that. It's silly. Question, kinslaying is a big taboo among the Greeks, but how close does someone have to be considered kin? For example, could Hera contract a sign of Hades to bump off some of Zeus's sons without receiving a visit from the Furies? Would she do that if she thought she could get away with it?
Yes, and yes. Hades would not get away with it.
Hades would be like, I'm not dealing with that.
But also, he would, if he did that, he would go to jail.
Well, he would have to put down the kid that did it.
Oh, a Hades kid versus Zeus's kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, everybody would put down the kids and then be like, everything's cool. The thing about Greek kinslaying is that it has to be actually your kin, and you have to be the one that slays them. So if Hera hires an outside contractor to kill somebody, the Furies aren't going to come get her because she didn't actually kill anybody.
But also, she could just kill Zeus's kid, and that's okay too. Because it's not her kid.
Yeah, it's actually not... Well, it is. It's her nephew or niece. Because remember, she's Zeus's sister. And so, technically, they're related, but they're not related very closely. It depends really on the situation, because one of the things about Hera murdering Zeus's children is that she's actually enacting justice just the way the Furies do. Because she comes from a time period where that's like a different type of justice and it's very punitive and dangerous.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of these, the kids illegal too, so...
Yeah, like Zeus's illegitimate children are illegal and should not exist. So her killing them is kind of following the dictates of law and justice.
But
it's not necessarily morally good.
She does have to send emissaries, though.
Yeah, she doesn't do it personally. And
that might be because she's a weak woman, though.
Well, it might just be because she doesn't want Zeus to tie her to the roof again. But regardless, nothing is going to happen to her if she sends somebody out to kill somebody. Like, if Zeus finds out about it, he's probably going to be mad and maybe do something to her, but he's not going to kill her, and the Furies aren't going to care. It's only if she starts, like, murdering her own children or her own siblings or her own parents or husband that then that's when the Furies kick in. Or your grandparents. Like, it's not...
Your cousin, though.
Yeah, your cousins. Anyone you're related to. Like, within cousin or closer. Like, once you get out to, like, weird third cousin, second uncle, probably don't care anymore. But the Greeks usually keep it closer than that because they just marry their cousins and uncles anyway. So, yeah. If you use an intermediary, you're home free. They don't care about who motivated the murder. They care about who did it. Next question. Have you ever considered officially moving Govnu from the Nemuktandevas to the Tuatha, or is he too minor a figure to bother moving?
Yes, we have considered.
He actually should be in the Tuatha. He does a lot more there than he ever did in Gaul.
We were going to do him the same time we did the gods that are Legend 12 that aren't necessarily in a pantheon, so we can get him over there maybe. And
yeah.
And who's the other Tuatha, or the other...
You want to move Cernunnos.
Cernunnos,
yeah.
Well,
Cernunnos needs to go to the homeless, don't have a pantheon ones.
Right.
Govnu actually should go to the Tuatha. He's probably not Legend 12 is the reason we didn't move him yet. He's probably like Legend 10, 11. But he definitely does a lot more there. The reason that they put him in the Nematon Devos is because the writers of that supplement were trying to do a thing where they had one god to mirror every god of the Dodecatheon. And so they grabbed this smith god that they could to mirror Hephaestus. But really, he doesn't belong there that much.
What about... Does he fit in the family trees over in Tuatha?
Yes, he's one of the Tree Dagana.
The what?
The 3 gods of skill. He's in the family tree, actually. So.
Okay.
Or at least some of his brothers are.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
He does. He's just not. He's not super important, but we'll probably move him. And if we were doing the project with the statting up lower legend gods, he would get statted and probably moved.
Next question.
Next question. Are Norse dwarves immortal? In the setting, yes, they're lesser immortals.
Well, no, hold on. So it's important to know here what the difference between the word immortal as we see it and the word immortal as it is supposed to be used. Immortal should just mean, in the Scion setting, incredibly long-lived.
It
should not mean unkillable.
Yeah, they're not invulnerable. What they are is they just don't die of old age.
And I think they actually probably do, but they're so long-lived that it's
You
not
can't
something...
tell.
Yeah,
It's
so they
similar
probably
to
live
same thing for like the
5,000
Alfar,
years.
all of those
Yes.
races. The Scion books say they're immortal, they never age. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. They might just be incredibly long-lived and live for
Don't. It's
thousands and
stupid.
thousands of
No,
years.
you have much better stories if everything ages. It can age super, super slowly, and maybe the gods don't age, but you want to you're just closing off stories where there's an old dwarf who's about to die of old age and you need to go do something for him, or you need to do something for his kid, or there's a political squabble over someone important dying of old age. You cut off those stories and get nothing back from it.
Yeah, the reason the books do it is because, like most of the books setting, they base it on Greece. And ancient Greece is one of the few places where they're like, well, if it's a magical god thing, it never dies and it never ages. But most of the world's mythologies don't do that, and Norse mythology doesn't either. Like, even the gods get old if they don't take care of their shit and eat the apples at appropriate times. So, and in case you wondered, the Eddas don't actually say one way or another. You know, they never mention whether or not dwarves or elves are actually immortal. But they are treated as, they're magical, they're more than human. They definitely live longer than humans do. Your call exactly how long that is.
Right. Next question.
Next question. How do you justify a number of boons metric when not all purviews have the same number of boons in them? Prophecy and stars come to mind since they have only 1 boon per level compared to magic, which has a bunch.
I justify it because it's the best mechanic for that thing. And often the boons are rolling against themselves within a purview. It's much rarer that the boons are rolling against themselves from one purview to another. It definitely does happen, but it's rarer in those rare situations you can control more.
Yeah, what we're looking at actually is saying, okay, this fire boon, we know that there are 17 frost boons, which I know off the top of my head, and I should probably take a vacation. There's 17 frost boons. So when we say roll your number of frost boons, we know that that is the amount, like, that's the range that you can have. We know if you're Legend 5, there's only, like, 6. You're going to have up to 6. If you're a full Legend God, you'll have up to 17. When we write a boon, we're going to balance that around, that's the number. We're not going to balance it around some ephemeral number of boons that everything has, because they're all different. And if we said, oh, that number doesn't work for this, we would use something different, like a roll or something.
You'll notice there aren't many magic boons that roll magic or have anything based on number of boons.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Bona Fortuna, right?
Bona Fortuna and Trading Fates.
And Trading Fates. And those are ones where, you know, it's a one-time shot.
There may be a god level one. But in my perfect world where I'm rewriting the game, I would have 20 boons for every purview. And I would have more stuff where they interacted, but... because that's impossible right now. They don't have it.
Yeah, it's hard to do that because, you know, you cut out some powers that should be there, or you have to fluff in powers that maybe shouldn't be, and it's hard to come up with a round number for the sake of the math without destroying some of the feeling of the game. We don't want to do that. By the way, Stars does not have only 1 boon per purview. Several levels have 2 boons. So
only Prophecy.
Only Prophecy right now has only 1 per level. And you'll notice, I think that only like 1 or 2 boons in Prophecy do that. They're things like adding it to your joint battle and stuff.
Right.
And that is
that's
a
all
place
based
where you
around
can compare it, because War also does that, and War has more boons. But at the same time, we think War gods should get more of a leg up on going into combat than Prophets. Prophets see a little of the future, but they're still not necessarily equipped to handle a battle. War gods are. So
next question. Well answered us.
Yes, we're pretty great. Next question. You've mentioned a couple of times you don't think most of the Nematon Devos are up to Legend 12. I just want to know which ones in your opinion are.
Kernos.
Yeah,
That's
Kernos. Maybe Epona. No? So I think she might be Legend 11.
11.
Yeah, Cernunnos is definitely Legend 12. He's like the big daddy of that setting. But outside of that, most of them are minor gods who are probably 10 or 11. Some of them are only 9. Like, Camulos is probably only 9. He's like a footnote most of the time. Epona, Govnu are probably Legend 10, Legend 11. And there just aren't a lot of other ones that really, when we know literally nothing more about them than their names and like a couple pictures of them on a rock, then they probably aren't Legend 12.
Yeah.
And then final one, you once mentioned it possibly working on a bestiary, but it doesn't ever show up on the voting block. Why is that?
Because Dan hates it.
That's not the whole reason. Although it is one of the projects I'm personally less excited about, so I'm not as excited about it. But
it used to be up there.
It was up there a couple of times. It actually didn't get a lot of votes, and so we phased it out in favor of putting things on there that we either wanted to work on sooner, like we really need to get Enoch fixed, or we really need to do purview avatars because our players are going to use them, or that we were more interested in, like we were like, let's do lower legend god profiles. That sounds like actually a lot of fun.
It's something I'm interested in, but not enough to like something that I force.
Right. So it'll probably
and
be...
it doesn't want to do it, so...
Yeah, well, I will still help you guys. But it'll probably be on the poll again in the future, but, like, just recently we haven't, like... There hasn't been a lot of interest in it, and we've been doing other stuff, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no big secret on that one. And that's it for our
marathon
right. of questions today.
Weird bonus vlog.
I'm gonna sign off now and take Grumpy Troll John and go to room down
Troll
right now.
John.